And I found a piece of legislation on the internet on the Terrorism Act, because it seemed common sense to me that if you, the illegal wars, which newspapers have listed, it's an illegal war. 9/11 is so obviously suspicious. So I thought, well, as a taxpayer, however you pay your taxes, I'm funding the deaths of innocent people around the world, and terrorism, which I suspect was committed not by the 19 hijackers. I'm reluctant to say who did it, but I think it's fairly obvious when you think about it. And so I went into my local police station where my father used to work, and the only reason I got past the first hurdle of the front desk is that there was a chap there who worked with my dad, and he said, well, why are you here? And I said, I want to report a crime. And I told him what the crime was, 9/11 and all this stuff, and 7/7. And why? And he said, what does your dad think about this? And I said, well, he's seen it, and he's not happy about the official story either. So they then got this very glamorous police officer down, sat there and questioned me. He didn't take any notes, but I told her what I knew. Passed in the course of the next couple of weeks, some evidence, hard copy, etc., and asked her what she'd done with it, and she confirmed it had been passed to Divisional Intelligence at Sussex Police. Sometime later, about a year later, somebody knocked on my door, which was TV licensing. Not for me, actually, for the people who lived in my flat previously. And I thought, oh blimey, what should I do about this? Oh, I'm sorry, Frank. And asked me what I'd do about I said, look, I'm not paying your licence under Section 15, Article 3 of the Terrorism Act. And they went through the procedure. I got the court summons, went to court. They asked me if I was guilty. I said, no, I'm not guilty of having an appropriate licence, because the licence isn't appropriate, because I'd be funding terrorism, because I know the BBC's covered up the true events of the day. And eventually we arrived here today, and the result has been, I have to say, a fair judge in my opinion. That I have not been convicted. I have no fine. Court costs £200, which you guys have very generously donated to. And I have to behave myself and get a TV licence, of course, which I'll be running down the post office tomorrow to buy.
Sure you will.
But hopefully we've set a little precedent here where we might encourage people to go and do the same thing, and go to their police, tell them about today. Give them the evidence. West Sussex Police have said they're investigating it, which they're obliged to do, because the BBC had prior knowledge of a terrorist event, which under, I think it's Section 38 of the Terrorism Act, they should have reported, which they didn't. And they've since given us this impossible flannel about World Trade Center 7 collapsing due to an office fire, which even in the NIST report says fell at free fall speed for 8 floors in 2.5 seconds. Now that is absolutely impossible without a controlled demolition being involved. Absolutely impossible. There's no arguments around it. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, because they're saying Isaac Newton is wrong, and he's never been proved wrong. Unfortunately, the court today, the judge didn't let us demonstrate all the evidence. We had some very good witnesses: Tony Farrell, former intelligence officer for South Yorkshire Police; Niels Harrit, eminent scientist from Copenhagen; Ray Savage, former counter-terrorism officer. Who else am I leaving out? Peter Drew, wonderful chap, coordinated the campaign against the BBC, trying to find out about Building 7, which they refused to talk about. Adrian Mallet, former firefighter, engineer. I had a good load of witnesses lined up, but we weren't allowed to present them. That said, the judge has seen the evidence. He said he's seen the evidence, so we now know that for a fact that one judge in this country is very aware of what happened on 9/11, and I have no conviction.
Do you have the judge's name, please?
Judge Stephen Nichols, I believe.
Oh.
Do you know him?
Oh yes.
Yes. No, a nice chap, it has to be said. It has to be said.
Yes.
And towards the end of the case, for anyone who wasn't in the room, I did kick off a little bit, because it does come down to a question of morality. Do you keep funding these bloody paedophile rings at the BBC?
Yeah.
I know this is sub judice, but I think it's been fairly well established that what's going on. And do we fund an organisation that tells us the impossible, that Building 7 fell because of an office fire? It's utter crap, and we should stop paying them. Go to your police station, go to your lawyer, wherever you have to go. I wouldn't bother petitioning your MPs, they're a complete shower of shit in my opinion. But go to the police, tell them, Sussex Police have said it's with Divisional Intelligence, we'll get it to other Divisional Intelligence as well, wherever you live. Get them there and do your best, because it's not an imprisonable offence, TV licensing, and I got the lowest possible punishment today. I didn't get convicted. The judge took the stuff seriously, and so he should, because you can't get any more serious than Isaac Newton. And it's an immutable law of science, and the BBC have been lying. And if they want to take me to court for saying that they're liars, fine, we'll go back. I want a beer now.
No, but very quickly, today's hearing was at magistrates level, am I right?
It was district judge. It was in a magistrates court with a district judge.
In a magistrates court with a district judge.
Yeah, we've been through the magistrates.
That's unusual, isn't it?
Right.
We've been through magistrates before. They referred it, because I pled not guilty, they referred it to the district judge. And
can I make an observation? You were saying
I've
that...
got a bad haircut.
It's not as bad as mine.
No, you're right, it's not.
You say you're surprised at the turnout and support. Don't be. Very, very few people will put their head above the parapet and go the distance. Very, very few people. Do you know of anyone else?
Tony Farrell.
Tony Farrell.
Tony Farrell's a hero of mine, and
me too.
Barrett as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's
how many people in Joe Public who don't want to pay a TV licence but do so? How many of them are prepared to do what you do?
well, a lot of them don't know what's going on.
They don't know.
But when it starts affecting their
But
children,
even when
they
they
will do, because this is creeping fascism.
It is.
They really want to stop it now, because there's this total hypocrisy of people like Cameron, Blair, standing outside the war memorials on Poppy Day. As far as I'm concerned, they may as well go and urinate on a war memorial for all the good you've done this country, if you're not going to object to this now. If you don't stop it now, we're fucked.
Don't forget, Blair is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, isn't he?
And Vanessa.
See you soon.
All right, mate, thank you so much. I'm sorry you didn't get to perform, especially with that new haircut. All right, mate. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for coming.
Blair was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, wasn't it? I mean,
Obama's won it. Obama's won it. This is the kind of lunacy that we...
it is...
Sorry guys, I'm too cold.
Everything...
What a professional you are.
Can I just ask the again, President, to the case, just before we...
Sorry?
Can I just ask one more question?
Hang on.
So, I understand you don't want to take it any further for personal reasons, which is quite understandable. Should you refuse to pay the court fine and want the evidence to be heard and your witnesses called and all the rest of it, I assume the course of action would be, at this stage, not to pay the court fine and to go to county court, or...
I'd have to take legal advice on that, Joe.
Right.
I'm really not sure about it.
I'm just curious, because we all hope and believe that others will follow in your footsteps.
I certainly hope that others
go all
follow
the way to the point where the evidence is heard in the court of law and the whole thing's brought to a...
Flood them. Everyone with a television offensive licence, stop, flood the courts, get this information to them. As far as this case, particularly this case is concerned, I'm not going to go any further for personal reasons, but I've got to sit down with people like Ian Henshall and people brighter than I and discuss what the options are, and there are options, and I think that there is a possibility of judicial review. There are the options of an appeal, but they're expensive. So we just have to decide how to do that collectively.
Because there appears to be a contradiction that on the one hand you're breaking the law by paying your licence fee, but you're also breaking the law by not paying.
I think this is what the judge recognised. This is what the crunch was, and I did say to him at the end, I looked at him and said, "Sir, you're asking me to break the law here. I know, I've got the evidence, you're not going to look at it, I've got the evidence the BBC are lying. Please," and it was taken into consideration, and hence no fine, just lowest court costs, and what I consider to be a positive result, all things considered.
Great, thank you.
And what I consider to be a positive result, all things considered.
Great, thank you.